Hey everyone, welcome back to the Independent Reporter, and today we'll be doing our actual first news story and not actual polling coverage. And, well, as you can probably tell by looking at CNN's front page, there's been a lot of controversy around what Donald Trump has said about Hillary Clinton and, her desire to ban switch the Second Amendment and ban all guns. And specifically, the quote was, quote unquote, from CNN, Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, if she gets to pick, if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment, people, maybe there is, I don't know, Trump said. But I tell you what, that day will be a horrible day if Hillary gets to put her in her judges. Right now, we're tied. So that's what Trump said. Now, reading that off is horrible because it's hard to read if you can speak English. It's just not something I would recommend. But anyway, what goes on here is essentially Trump is saying that she wants to abolish the Second Amendment, and maybe there's something that Second Amendment people, quote unquote, gun owners, can do.
That's just such a stupid statement on so many. Just I understand why he. It makes sense why he made this statement. He obviously wanted people to get talking about the Second Amendment. Just hours later, the NRA spends $3 million on anti-Clinton ads. It's apparent that it's. I believe it's makes sense that they coordinated this together to try to get people talking about the Second Amendment. Then the NRA comes in with these ads and makes them more effective. But I mean, nobody's talking about the NRA anymore. Everybody's talking about this stupid comment that it sounds like a threat. It really does. I don't know about you, but the way I interpreted it was he was hinting at it, but he was just far enough away that when he was accused of it, he can kind of backtrap on himself. I don't think he'd be stupid enough to go up there and say directly threaten Secretary Clinton, but it sounds like really sounds like he did. I don't know about you.
Well,
What
for
do you
me,
think?
I've a lot of people will call me a Trump apologist, even though I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter. But I will say I'm not sure. I really want to emphasize the not sure part. If Trump actually meant that as a threat. Now, we all know that Trump says ridiculous things, and again, I would like to point out many ridiculous things are just. I don't want to say out of context, but the way he thinks of them and the way they could be said are completely different from the way many people take it in. Some examples being his nuclear comments and stuff like that. That was completely overblown. And with this one, I fully believe that I hope I fully believe, it's kind of me being overly optimistic, that what he was intending to say was that, Second Amendment people, you guys can always just protest and, do all your legal stuff and be true Americans and get your ads out, go vote for them. That's something that Second
Yeah.
Amendment people could do. They could go vote for Donald Trump and add that in with the ad campaign. I think it was in before Donald Trump actually started speaking. This was a good idea. But then Donald Trump spoke, and it was not a good idea because to me, someone who doesn't know who Donald Trump is, someone who just reads those statements from any other human being, that's a threat. And against someone who's a presidential candidate, to me, that's like you can be arrested for that, and that's why I can't accept this. But I mean, to me, he didn't really mean it that way.
To be fair, he did attempt to clarify his statement, but immediately after saying what he meant to actually say, he immediately attacked the so-called liberal media. I mean, he did go on Hannity and defend himself, say what he did, but I don't. I mean, the liberal media, yes, of course, CNN covered this all day, but I mean, they really spin it. They just kind of said what he said, and I do think a lot of people are going to interpret this as almost a call to arms if Secretary Clinton wins, and the Secret Service certainly did because the Secret Service had more than a couple of conversations. At least that's what they're saying at this point with the Trump organization. So it's apparent that the Secret Service are afraid that people are going to interpret this as a threat, but this is just another Trump story. I mean, I don't think this is going to have any long-term effects on him. Orlando didn't, but and I just don't I just don't think it's gonna stick. Like the Gold Star family is almost certainly gonna stick. It has stuck. Even the McCain thing he said months ago about how he prefers the soldiers not to be captured. That's still lingering with him. I just don't think this is gonna stick like those ones did.
Yeah, and to me, I kind of want to go back to the time, like, the simple times when Trump said he could walk down in New York and shoot someone,
Fifth Avenue, yeah.
and no one, no one would point him out and all that stuff. So, like, he said that, and that to me that's also, it's not a threat because he wouldn't do it, but I mean,
No.
that's a crazy person kind of thing. So, if that cannot stick, then what about this?
Those were in the days that Trump didn't have the nomination. Those were the days before Iowa even came around. Those were the good old days where we could just sit here and laugh at this election. Now we're stuck with Trump v. Clinton, and we're hoping, oh, there's just no way out of this. It's just going to be another stupid statement that Trump said that's just going to be overblown. He's just going to go and say another stupid statement. And it's just going to keep jumping from stupid statement to stupid statement. And all this is doing is giving fuel to the Clinton, it's actually war machine, really. They're going to use these statements and ads to attack him. But the email scandal, which I don't want to get into conversation now, they have to defend themselves from that. So the Clinton organization should have lost because of the emails, but Trump keeps giving them fire to attack him with. So, he should be leading by 10% or more now, but he keeps saying stupid comments over and over again, and they can keep using them against him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest thing right now is going to come down to it's going to be like both sides a complete offensive war against each other. Clinton is probably not going to do anything to defend himself from the emails, and Trump will probably not do anything to defend himself from this. They're just going to use each other's weakness and keep firing at each other just to drive down people's opinions. But one thing I do want to kind of clarify here, and that is that, Hillary Clinton is probably not going to take away people's guns. And by probably, I mean almost certainly. That's not at all what people want, especially Democrats. They do want gun control for assault rifles, like the one you can see in the background of my picture. But that is that is a completely different issue than all your guns. And so when you talk about Second Amendment people, most people for the Second Amendment have also supported some gun regulations, assault rifle bans, all that kind of stuff. So if you look at it that way, are Second Amendment supporters really with Trump on this one? Are they really behind? Or does this really only appeal to those very small minorities who believe that, you should be armed to the teeth and would be willing to start a revolution over something like this? And does that tie into the fact that, if Clinton wins, does that fear propagate to the point where anyone who's got a gun and feels like that, without even waiting for Clinton to try to pass a law saying, we've got to revolt now, we've got to do it, it's our chance, and instead of voting, doing something radical like this?
The thing is, it's a very small minority that think there should be no gun regulation. A lot of people are for increased background checks or updated background checks. People are for gun safety training, but all it takes with a weapon is one person to misinterpret this. And one person just to get one shot off. It happened with Reagan. It happened with Kennedy. It's, it's just, it's hard to imagine how easily it is to do something as horrible as this, but he has to watch these comments because like I said, all it takes is one person to misinterpret this, and all hell breaks loose. And it's kind of sad and horrible to think about that.
Yeah, and speaking on a personal note, I think both of us here, whether you want to bring the Republican Democrat side of things into here, I think we're both for more regulations on gun control. A lot of Republicans are for this, as you said. Same with a lot of Democrats. So it doesn't really come down to that. It's more of a vast majority against a really hard to move minority here. But given the current situation in the United States, you got to remember, there's so many gun shootings in the United States, school shootings. Thank God they haven't happened in a while now. But Black Lives Matter, the shooting in Texas, all that kind of stuff. does this kind of aggravation, like you remember back a couple months ago, back when the attacks on Trump were he's inciting violence, does this kind of add to the fuel? And in the current culture today in the United States, does that make people more unsafe? Do people at political rallies now need to worry about someone breaking out the assault rifle and shooting people in the crowd, or even Clinton? Like, does that make things worse for people just living in the United States, minding their own business, not just Hillary Clinton?
I don't think this is gonna start some massive revolution or anything, but just anything that puts a potential president life their life in danger is really, really bad. Because even if you don't like Secretary Clinton, and if she does get elected, nothing's gonna come around if she gets. I mean, if the worst comes to worst and she does go, I mean, is Tim Kaine really that much better? Is he really that different? Most of the cabinets is almost certainly going to stay the same, so you're not really achieving much. You're just getting rid of you're just getting rid of her, which is just, and not to mention the unrest that happens after every presidential shooting. I think LBJ got sworn in on a plane. It's just everything moves so quickly when this happens, and it's just not worth it. It's better she gets defeated in November.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Like, if any of you out there are listening to this and, you believe that Hillary Clinton will take away your guns, well, first of all, she won't. She'll put regulations. But that aside, if you, like, it's okay to be against Hillary Clinton. I'm against Hillary Clinton. Not on this issue, but on some things. The solution is to go out and vote. Even do what we do. We're starting like a media thing. You can start your own and try to get more people to vote. The voter turnout in the United States isn't anything spectacular, so there's still a lot of room for, swings, and Trump could win, or anything can happen. That's what we're trying to get at here. But the one thing that I guess both of us here speak 100% for is, like, we don't encourage violence and stuff like that, and we definitely don't encourage people taking up their arms against the government, essentially, and especially when you demonize one whole figure as the evil part of the government, like what Trump's doing with Clinton. Like, we don't want that kind of thing, because how long before is that all liberals want to take our guns away, but the Second Amendment people can do something about it, or all Democrats, or everyone for assault rifle bans, they're for taking your guns away. Do something about it. How long before that?
I'd like to make one last statement before we end this video. After every single presidential shooting, and there's only been a couple, but for example, after JFK got shot, more gun regulation came through. After Reagan got shot, even more came through. If you truly believe about the Second Amendment, you can't. What I'm trying to say is that if you attack a president and you're successful, it will just create more regulation to protect the next president. It's important to realize that we live in a democracy where a person's in power for 4 years, whether or not you voted for him or not. That's how it works, People win. And just, not all the times, not all the candidates that you want to win will win. But some of them that you want to win will eventually win. And you can't go around shooting the ones you don't like, because that's just going to hurt your cause. It's not going to help it. Yeah, it's just... Yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
I guess, like, that just ties into the whole underlying theme that we've seen since, August 1st, that Trump is starting to accept the fact that he might not win. Now, again, email scandal, I think it's very different now, but the fact is that the rhetoric that's been going on from the 1st to now the 11th, it's all been about, when we lose, or if we lose, and if the worst comes...
rigged.
Yeah, like all that stuff, and it's part of that. But this is just on a completely other thing. And the one message everyone I hope wants to get out is that if you really love your guns, and if you really want guns to be with everyone, all that stuff, you're okay to have that opinion. But people tend to agree with you when there is not many shootings, when you don't have school shootings. If guns didn't kill innocent people, no one would have problems with guns. So inciting violence or shooting a president or even just shooting someone you don't like. I mean, of course, we're not going to say that's good, but I mean, actually think about it. If guns are not used on people, then everyone can have guns. It's like a kitchen knife. If people start going around, knifing people with kitchen knives, more regulations. But right now, no one is, so kitchen knives aren't regulated. So it's kind of like that. So yeah, I guess that's all we want to say.
Yep. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Bye.